Friends, you must have heard the saying, history is written by the victors. But have you ever wondered, what about the people whose victories were deliberately hidden from us? It is often said that quiet women rarely make history. But what about the brave and defiant women? Their stories have the power to echo through time. There have been women who made groundbreaking discoveries and led movements that changed our world. But their names have been systematically removed from our school textbooks. These aren't just stories that were lost to time. These are stories that were actively suppressed. Contributions that were either sidelined, stolen, or completely silenced. So today, let's break this silence. Let's analyze the incredible and true stories of the female pioneers who secretly shaped our modern world. Chapter 1: Hedy Lamarr, the bombshell with the brains. If you look at Hedy Lamarr, you'll see a glamorous Hollywood star, a beautiful face that sold millions of movie tickets. But this is only half the truth, because behind this famous face was a brilliant mind that was secretly inventing the future. Born in Austria, Lamarr's first husband was a munitions dealer, which is how she came to know a lot about advanced weaponry. When World War II began, she was horrified by the news of German U-boats sinking passenger ships. She felt she had to do something. She knew that the Allied forces had radio-controlled torpedoes, but there was a big problem. Their guidance signals were extremely easy for enemies to jam, which made them useless. This is where Lamarr had a brilliant idea. What if a radio signal could jump rapidly from one frequency to another? The enemy might be able to jam one frequency, but only for a moment before the signal hopped to a new one. For an outsider, it would sound like random noise. But if the transmitter and receiver were perfectly synchronized, the message would be clear. She collaborated with a composer, George Antheil, and using the mechanics of player pianos, they figured out a way to synchronize these frequency hops. The result was a secret communication system, for which she received a patent in 1942. She presented this patent to the US Navy, hoping to help win the war. But what did the military do? Perhaps they weren't ready to accept a world-changing invention from a movie star. They essentially shelved the idea, and it was buried under paperwork. It took decades for the world to understand the genius of frequency hopping. The principles she developed became the foundational technology for Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and GPS. Yes, friends, the smartphone in your hand and the wireless network you're using right now exist partly because of Hedy Lamarr's secret work. A genius whose greatest contribution was ignored for most of her life. Chapter 2: Claudette Colvin, the Seat of Courage. Friends, you have all read the story of Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott in your history books. But what if I told you that the full story was hidden from you? Because 9 months before Rosa Parks' famous protest, a 15-year-old girl did the exact same thing. Her name was Claudette Colvin. On March 2, 1955, in Montgomery, Alabama, Colvin was on a bus going home from school. In her class, she had just been studying black leaders like Harriet Tubman and the injustices of segregation laws. So, when the bus driver ordered her to give up her seat for a white passenger, she decided to resist. She refused. She said, "It's my constitutional right to sit here as much as that lady. I paid my fare. It's my constitutional right." For this, she was arrested and thrown in jail. She became one of the first people to directly challenge the city's segregation laws. So the question is, why has her story been almost completely erased from history? The reality is, civil rights leaders at the time felt that Rosa Parks, an adult with a respectable image, would be a better symbol for the movement. Colvin was a teenager, and she later became pregnant, which leaders feared the media would use to discredit the entire boycott. So, her incredible act of defiance was deliberately sidelined. But her story does not end here. Even though she was not the face of the boycott, Claudette Colvin was one of the 4 main plaintiffs in the federal court case Browder v. Gale. It was this case, supported by Colvin's powerful testimony, that ultimately led the Supreme Court to rule that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional. Rosa Parks became the symbol, but it was a forgotten teenager who first took a stand and helped bring down the system she so bravely challenged. Chapter 3: Rosalind Franklin, the architect of DNA. In the 1950s, a major scientific race was underway to uncover the structure of DNA, the molecule of life. And at the heart of this race was a brilliant chemist and X-ray crystallographer named Rosalind Franklin, whose work was about to change biological science forever. Franklin was an extremely meticulous scientist, and she was brought to King's College London specifically to solve the DNA problem. Using a technique called X-ray diffraction, she and her student took pictures of DNA fibers. In May 1952, they produced an image of incredible clarity, now famously known as Photograph 51. This single photo contained the secret. Its clear X shape was the critical proof that DNA had a double helix structure. But what happened next is a story of stolen credit. Without her knowledge or permission, a colleague of hers, Maurice Wilkins, showed Photograph 51 to two rival scientists, James Watson and Francis Crick. The moment Watson saw the photo, he understood its importance. He later admitted, "My jaw fell open and my pulse began to race." Using Franklin's data, her data, Watson and Crick quickly built their famous double helix model. In 1953, they published their groundbreaking paper in the journal Nature, with only a small footnote acknowledging her work. The shocking part is that in 1962, Watson, Crick, and Wilkins were awarded the Nobel Prize for this discovery. Rosalind Franklin was not included. She had tragically died from cancer 4 years earlier at the age of 37, and the official reason given was that the Nobel Prize is not typically awarded posthumously. But the truth is, her critical contribution was downplayed for decades. Her legacy nearly erased from the very chapter of science she helped write. Chapter 4, Margaret Knight, the Queen of Paper Bags. Think about the last time you were at a grocery store. You probably used a simple, flat-bottomed paper bag. It's such a common object that we don't even think about it. But this bag has an inventor, a woman who not only designed it but had to fight a legal battle to prove it was her idea. Her name was Margaret Knight, one of the most productive female inventors of the 19th century. In 1868, while working at a paper bag company, Knight came up with a revolutionary idea. At that time, paper bags were like flimsy envelopes. Knight designed a machine that could automatically cut, fold, and glue paper to create the flat-bottom bags we use today, bags that could stand on their own. She spent 2 years building a wooden prototype before commissioning an iron version to secure her patent. But while her machine was being built, a man named Charles Annan saw her design, stole it, and patented it himself. When Knight applied for her own patent, she was told that a patent had already been granted to Annan. So she took him to court. Annan's entire legal defense was based on a shocking argument that a woman could not possibly understand the mechanical complexities of the machine. But he had seriously underestimated Margaret Knight. She came to court with her original hand-drawn blueprints, detailed diaries, and all her patterns, proving without any doubt that she was the true inventor. She won the case, secured her patent in 1871, and became one of the first women in U.S. history to win a patent lawsuit. She later founded her own paper bag company and was even called a woman Edison. And yet today, while her invention is in all of our hands, her name has almost completely vanished. Chapter 5. Nellie Bly, the reporter who raced the world. In the late 19th century, journalism was completely a man's world. But this did not stop Elizabeth Cochrane, who wrote under the pen name Nellie Bly. She was not just a writer. She was a pioneer of investigative journalism who threw herself into the center of the story to expose hidden truths. In 1887, Bly pitched a daring idea to the New York World newspaper. She would go undercover to investigate the women's lunatic asylum on Blackwell's Island. To get herself admitted, she had to fake insanity. She checked into a boarding house and acted so erratically that the police were eventually called to take her away. Once inside, Bly dropped her act and began to document the horrors. Abusive staff, rotten food, filthy living conditions, and ice-cold baths. She soon realized a shocking truth. Many of the women there were not insane at all, but were poor immigrants who couldn't speak English or had been abandoned by their families. After 10 days, her newspaper sent a lawyer to secure her release. Her report, published as 10 Days in a Madhouse, became a media sensation. It led to a grand jury investigation, which resulted in massive reforms and a huge increase in funding for patient care. But Bly's ambitions didn't stop there. Inspired by the novel Around the World in 80 Days, she decided to turn that fiction into reality and beat the record. Her journey was followed by millions of people, and she returned home a national hero after circling the globe in an astonishing 72 days. Nellie Bly changed her profession forever, proving the power of immersive journalism. Yet today, her incredible career is often reduced to just a historical footnote. Hedy Lamarr, Claudette Colvin, Rosalind Franklin, Margaret Knight, Nellie Bly, 5 women, 5 stories of brilliance, defiance, and resilience. Their work is the foundation of our technology, our civil rights, our understanding of life, our everyday conveniences, and modern journalism. And yet, for decades, their names were lost to a version of history that chose to forget them. Their stories are a powerful reminder for all of us that history is not set in stone. It's a story that is constantly being retold, re-examined, and, most importantly, corrected. By remembering these women, we are not just adding names to a textbook. We are reclaiming a more honest and complete picture of our world. We are ensuring their legacies of courage and innovation inspire future generations. Which of these women's stories did you find the most inspiring? Let me know in the comments below. And if you believe these stories need to be heard, please share this video and subscribe for more forgotten history.